So welcome. We'll go ahead and begin. So we start in a seated position in this class, and this really is our first yoga pose. And in a way, how we do this, how we kind of instead of just sitting like we would typically sit, like how we move into a yoga position is that there really is an awareness of the body. This is even from the like in the Zen tradition of sitting, that they're very aware of the body, and they say that they just want every cell to be um, alert, and that you are knowing that you're aware of your body, basically, because usually we don't really pay attention. So when you're sitting, then you're aware of your body and you're aware that this seated position that you have chosen is it just works. You can tell there's this feeling of every cell. You might close your eyes. And I know right away the teachings get a little subtle of how do I know? So we breathe and we feel. And when we are very aware of the cells in the body, it will probably naturally, decrease the attention we give to our thoughts, which is where we typically are. So, it can feel like a calming. This is what's called as unifying, or this more balanced. Oh, all of a sudden, we're aware of our whole experience. And this is just healthy for the body. When we bring awareness to the body, we tend to just naturally decrease the stress or the tension, and um, the ways that we don't put effort into the body. When we're just sitting like this. When we are aware of all the cells, now you're going to reach your arms up to the side, like, oh, it's almost made, even to just simple action, it might feel like, oh, I'm kind of coming alive. Like now I can just sense that there's both now an effort to do this and then kind of a relaxing. Bring your arms up, take a deep inhale. And then as you exhale, the arms come down. So aware of all of your cells. It's like they're arranging themselves. So the breath can flow. Even sensing that kind of relaxing or the non-doing. Breathe, move. Such a simple movement, but the real work here is the deepening of awareness. Not so caught up in the web of thinking. Now just turn this side to side. Like as we move, more of a side to side movement, it's like, oh, kind of aware of different cells. Mouth is relaxed. More and more absorbed in very intentionally being with all these cells. Like as I'm doing this, I can actually feel my toes. And like my toes kind of like coming to life all the way down, like through my legs, even though I'm cross-legged. Ah. And then yoga has this way of, I mean, there's different ways, of course, we can practice, but this way of addressing, kind of being with all of the different cells in the body. So that's why we do a variety of movement. Go ahead and release seated pose. And as we start to wake up the body, we're going to go ahead and recline on the backside. Okay. So as you recline, I think I'm going to go ahead and take my socks off. You could do the same. Take your socks off if you have them on. And as you recline, your arms are going to go out to the side. Now, this can appear to be a really simple pose, but it's a big action for your body. So as the arms go out, your legs are going to go upside down. And just notice how this feels and how you're both working to do this. And then you're also, there's kind of the non-doing the relaxing. Circle your feet around to start to explore what it feels like to move around your ankles. And then just breathe through your nose. Feeling the length of your spine, this kind of flow through the spine, the free breath. The breath can flow and through your whole body because of your effort to relax. And then just start to do a bicycle movement with your legs. So you're keeping a lot of weight, or feel the weight bearing on your pelvis and your sacrum. Start to take the legs like a little wider apart. So you're exploring these, just the legs kind of, in a way, moving all over the place. So not just a confined bicycle motion. In fact, the legs are going to start to go pretty wide, like reach the legs out to the side. And notice that kind of waking up of strength as you're doing this. So not holding your breath. Breathe through your nose and feel like your face relaxing. The little lift of your chest here to open the space of your chest. Good. And then just take both legs straight up in the air again. And then grab your thighs. Go ahead, just reach your thighs and then lift your head up here. Draw your chin down a bit. And just do a little pointing and flexing of your feet. Okay, just, yeah. This can be, it can be like you might feel a lot of sensation. Straightening your legs. Good. And then we lift up even higher. We move to our forward bend where we straighten the legs. We draw the shins towards the forehead and forehead towards the shins. And just breathe here. I know. Big action. And then as you bend your knees, you're just going to swing your legs and take yourself all the way up, or however you want to come all the way up. And let's go ahead and just flip. We're going to flip over right onto all fours because now I want us to start to let the spine really move. So cat and cow action, I find there's no replacement for this. And as you're doing your cat and cow, the spine moving into this convex concave shape. So talk about like being aware of the cells and kind of waking up different areas. So many of the yoga movements, yoga poses that we do they're not really extraordinary, but we just don't do them a lot. These movements to really move through your whole spine. So that's why I find it's important to just stay with this for a while and give the body time to just feel all the cells here, the working, the relaxing. Feel your tailbone moving kind of all the way through your spine. And then as you pause here, you're going to walk your hands forward and really lift up onto your fingertips. Okay. So that even takes different work to stay on your fingertips. And then reach your hips back, kind of like you're going to child pose. You just reach back. This is going to gradually open through your shoulders and even drop your chest. Lengthen, really pull through your spine here. Good. And then as you come up, your hands prepare for down dog. Now, when you're preparing or as you start to move to down dog, your toes will tuck under. But notice when you lift up, like you don't have to go into that giant shoulder flexion right away. You can kind of walk your feet. I mean, I'm just partially lifted up towards my down dog. And just introducing this kind of slowly. The hips start to lift up. You can increase, so just the right shoulder flexion. So when we're aware of all of the cells, we feel like I'm gradually moving into the work, the deep strength of this pose. And at the same time, there's got to be some kind of softening or relaxing. Good. And then just walk forward and come up to standing as you push into your feet, as you come up. We're going to reach the hands forward, reach the arms forward a little bit, and start to do that making fists with your hands and releasing. Making fists, releasing, and just keep doing. Just kind of feels good, right? For that. I mean, it's also work, to do this. Like, I'm getting into the hands. And then I like to just then move the arms so you lift your arms as high as you want and then open the arms out to the side. Reach way across the chest and then the arms come down. So you're just circling your arms however you want. Feeling both the work of this and kind of relaxed. So it's interesting. It almost takes work or, some kind of awareness more so that you don't get tense as you're doing this. You don't clench your jaw. So that we have that balance of the kind of the action, the work, and then the more of the relaxing into this. Good. And then as you pause, the arms are just going to swing forward and back. And yeah, just like you're really doing this. You're just moving the arms forward and back. But of course, you don't want to just copy what I'm doing because that might not work for your shoulders. So your own pace, your own kind of intensity of doing this. Just kind of checking it out. How does this feel your shoulders? And how we keep checking in with like your throat or the feeling of your breath moving. It's quite a subtle awareness. Like, oh yeah, I'm kind of a feeling of being free, and the mind is very quite naturally concentrated when you're aware of all the cells. As you pause, the arms stay down. And we're going to come up towards the front of the mat. We're going to do just this little, almost like a balance exercise where you um, are going to keep your right foot forward and then you just step your left foot back and you are right away into that crescent pose. In your crescent pose, take the arms to a goal post position. Okay, just straighten the back leg, lift up through your spine, the tailbone draws in. Okay, so aware of the cells, like, and naturally, like a feeling of being grounded. And that is really kind of paramount here, is like that I need right away. And then we kind of lean forward. We reach the arms forward, lengthening, kind of straight back. And then you move to standing on your right leg, your tree pose. So noticing like what works for your tree. Keep looking closer and closer. The feeling of just being straight up and down, the effort, you could even do like overdo this, like really working. And then there's kind of a light-hearted quality that comes in. Even your eyes are calm. Work your arms, like choose a position for your arms. They could just kind of be like dead tree branches. But no, they're just right from the core of the body, like radiate the branches. Now you're gonna step back that left foot. Okay, and you can just move any way into this kind of crescent pose, like whatever your arms want to do. But the back leg, it works to straighten. And then you move to your tree pose. So these are both kind of little balancing poses, like right into your tree. And then you step back, your crescent pose. And your tree. So you're going to right leg, same leg. We're just going back and forth. You might notice in tree, you really stabilize your pelvis, your waistband. Step back. Your crescent. So you got to be grounded the whole time. Tree pose. So my guess is like even like around maybe your ankle there's fatigue because it has to work so hard. Crescent pose to just stay stable here. Tree. Good. And then left foot down, both feet down, mountain. And as we go to the other side, that left foot stays forward, right foot now back to your crescent. Just that right effort around your pelvis, how you kind of lift your pelvic floor, grounded. Can you sense like every cell? Aware. And when you do that, that natural quieting and a deepening of interest, it's a very awakening. Like, what am I doing? Am I here? Lean forward a little bit. And then into your tree. This real upright. There's the pelvis is level. There's no flexion. And you're stepping back. So practice like right into that crescent pose. So yeah, it's a little bit of like a being very efficient with your movements, kind of understanding what works. Like, okay, I'm going to go to tree. Right into the pose. When we're aware of every cell. We might notice where, what is the cause of being wobbly? Often it's like there's one weak link. And so notice, how can I stabilize? Go through these poses. Deep stabilization. Keep looking like closer and closer. Feeling whole body. It's like we get closer to what is really working today. Continue moving back and forth. Working this stabilizing, grounding. I know it's challenging. Any balance pose has, a really deep challenge. Staying grounded, connected. And then we'll just take that right foot down. Pause in your mountain pose. Just this is a great one for feeling like, oh, this is a pose. Again, it's not extraordinary the position, but we typically don't stand really upright and so free of tension. Now we're going to go ahead and move this into a half sun salutation where I'll just introduce this where we sweep the arms up. And then as you go to now your full forward bend, you do keep your legs straight. So you go all the way over. And then we do that lift where you lift up towards a flat back. Now this, you might lift up as high up as you need to really feel your back strength. It's like your spine pulls in and your legs really engage, okay? But then we fold back over. You just kind of do that release. And then you push into your feet and you come all the way up. Then you take palms together in front of the heart. Now we could do this with the breath. So we would inhale, bring the arms up. And then you exhale, you go all the way over. And then you inhale to your flat back. And then you exhale, you go all the way over, just squeeze. And then you inhale, you come all the way up. And as you exhale, you take palms together in front of your heart. Inhale, all the way up. So now just let this move at your own pace. Working through your legs are strong. And this it's like it's both has that really firm, strong integrity, and then there's just that the kind of the fluidity of this. Your feet are very grounded, even kind of cemented down. You can just finish up the one that you're on. You're going to stay upright. Really, um, kind of building or cultivating that awareness of just staying in your body, and in a way, it just keeps like your whole presence very receptive and open. Okay, so this was what yogis were developing, was an actual physical feeling of being a peaceful being. So we're going to step the feet wide apart. And let's just go ahead and warm up a little bit in our hips, where you take your feet and point them out to the side slightly and do those little plies where you bend your knees, you straighten, and you just start this movement. And the action we could describe as like you're separating, the thighs are reaching out to the side. And as they start to do that, you might move your feet, just shifting how wide apart they are, where your toes are pointing, so that you can eventually really start to lift straight up. Lift up through your spine, keeping the feet grounded. You're really balanced on your feet. There's the strong ankles that we woke up that strength. Yeah, just kind of enjoying this. Well, reach the arms up and even grab your elbows up there. And when you do this, slightly draw your navel in. Okay, so it decreases any, big curvature in your lower back. So feeling now every cell, and when you're doing that, you get a sense that how you are doing this, your position, like it works. It's working. Because you can feel both like, this is hard, this is work, but at the same time, I'm able to relax into this. Good. And then as you let go, the arms come down. Now the feet rotate so they point forward. Even take your toes a little bit in. And just lift your chest. Get that feeling, lifting as you go to a forward bend. So you hinge right in your hips. And as you hinge, it's that same draping over. So we're going to reach the hands forward here, okay? It's almost like a wide-legged down dog. Hands are forward, but then hips are going to go back. Okay? But the main action here is the length of the spine. You might even find yourself stepping closer together, bending your knees a little bit to really reach the hips back. Good. And then just walk your hands back. Come all the way up. So we are going to take the right foot and just open the right foot to the right. That really nice warm up through the legs and hips. Left foot points in. Start to bend your right knee. Okay? Bend, straighten, bend, straighten, bending, straightening. And when we start to feel, when I'm describing all the cells, not just certain areas, you might naturally start with your feet. Like, I'm interested in being grounded and stable while I'm practicing opening to this. Now start to lift up through your spine. Just reach your arms out. Bend, straighten. Even do this like a little bit faster, okay? But when you do it faster, it has to be very stable. So you don't start to get, off balance. and really strong, right? Lift up your spine. By lifting up, but grounding. Good. And then the arms are going to come down. You face your right foot and you move back to down dog. Lengthen your spine, even a feeling of, oh, the sides of the body are lengthening. Good. Moving to plank. And then as you lower down, legs go back. So you're going to go ahead and lift up the cobra pose here. Ground your pubic bone. And even as you take your shoulders back, stay here in your cobra, but then drop your head, kind of press your chin down towards your throat. And then lift your chin again. And just play with that action where your head drops, and chin in, and then you lift up. So moving your head, keeping your shoulders back. Feel your back strength. So we do these focused, isolated movements to really bring awareness to certain cells in the body. Move back to down dog. Push your hands down, lift up, and even bend your knees a little bit as you reach your hips back, 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 back. Aware of every cell here, that every cell is doing this pose. And then walk to the center and come all the way up. Reach your arms up and bring your arms down. So you're just going to rotate so that you can step your feet wide apart again. So we're going to go just directly to that left side where you open your left foot to the left. The right foot points in. You just start that little, when you start to bend and straighten your left knee, it's pretty easy for the mind to be distracted. Because it's not a big complicated movement. So this is our work here is, I'm going to feel my feet. And I want to more completely be really free of tension and grounded. So as you start to bend and straighten, it's like, ooh, now we feel the kind of the nuances of what's happening here. Really straighten your right leg. I have to do that. And then reach your arms out and just feel this being aware of every cell, how you have to choose. It's almost like you have to choose to really be living and in this present experience. And if you do this like a little bit faster, that does, like suddenly it's like you really have to be here. And make sure if you're going faster, you don't get all tight and start to hold your breath, right? Like, yeah, I can breathe and feel actually quite relaxed as I'm doing this faster. Good. And then the arms come down. You face your left foot and you move into your down dog. Maybe right next to your dog. Hi, buddy. Breathe. Feel. It's like we know the mind knows how to do down dog, but then there's the actual doing of it. And every cell actually doing it. Moving to your plank. And then lowering down. Legs going back. Lifting to your cobra. Slide your hands back a little bit and reach your elbows back. Just right lift of your chin. Lengthen, lift your legs. Notice what's happening, The mind is quiet so you can hear or listen to your body. Bend your knees. And possibly bow pose. You reach back, grab your feet. Push your feet into your hands. Lift your thighs. And just breathe and just sensing like, well, is this working? And I open to this. As you release, you let go. Hands in the position for down dog, right? Shoulders stay back. Toes under. Lift up. Right, and then walk to center. All the way up. Arms come down. So, let's just let the arms go into a little swinging twist. So this is feet grounding or aware of the feet. I tend to just allow one heel to lift up when I do this. This feels right. The whole body feels like it's twisting. So it's your shoulders are rotating. And when you rotate your shoulders, the arms swing. So let the arms really swing here. Lift the chest. Good. Now, as you let this go, pause. So that action of that warrior two that we were doing, that actually really warms up through your hips, pelvis, lower back, in order to do the pose of balancing half moon. Now, for this pose, I am going to suggest that we do this. I'm going to really kind of study this and do it using a wall. So you can use a wall. You can even use an object like a chair. And it just supports you so that you don't fall down, and therefore you can spend a little more time there. Using a block helps. I mean, you could actually do this kind of like using a chair or a couch. So our balancing half moon looks, I'm just going to demonstrate right here. So I'm in kind of a forward bend and I have my right hand on my couch. Now I'm going to balance on my right leg and start to reach my left leg back. And as I do, I open. Like, so this, in a way, it really is like Warrior Two. This rotation. It's not my top hip that's rotating; it's my bottom one. And this balancing is that you're keeping that bottom leg nice and firm and straight. I might drop a little lower here. So that's kind of the shape of the pose and the action. But typically, we do this with touching the floor or using a little height of a block. So I think I will use my just kind of my window here. You do want to start then in your forward bend, and it's a forward bend that you can keep your legs straight. So technically, I could touch the floor here if I wanted to. You want to make sure that if you touch the floor, you don't have a big rounded back, that you can keep the back pretty straight. So I'm going to use a little bit of block height here. So my right hand is now on my block, my left hand is on my hip. And I'm pretty close to the wall so that when I balance on my right leg, I start to reach my left leg back. I could kind of get closer to the wall and it's supporting me. Teeny little touch. It's actually, you can feel the windowsill, but I know now I can't fall back. So I'm going to reach that back leg back. Straighten your standing leg. There's not a lot of weight on your block or your hand. And then this pose actually really twists and opens that top shoulder opens. You lift your back leg, left leg lifts up, lengthen spine, and feel the breath, like how you're doing this. That you can breathe, actually feel grounded and balanced, and that standing leg is very firm. Now practice coming up out of this. You just lift, nice and light coming up, okay? Let's take mountain pose. It's nice after some like standing poses, like, standing in mountain pose. Notice how that felt. So as we do the other side, so we're not doing a super long hold here. We're just kind of playing with the alignment. Forward bend, block. You're going to balance on your left leg, so your left hand is down. And you could just play like what happens now when you bring weight to your left leg and you start to reach your right leg back, okay? As it goes back, you want to stay grounded. And your bottom hand is really, right under your shoulder. Firm. No haste. Opening that top hip. Lifting up through the standing leg, firm and strong. As you rotate open, whatever is behind you, your support, that's a very light touch. Reach that top arm up. So it's a lot of just extending and opening here. Breathe, lift up through that standing leg. Strong. And then lightly, you could even bend your standing leg and just come up. Just lift up. You just move back to your mountain pose. You're looking forward. So one place, like, don't be surprised, is when you're practicing that pose, is that you can feel it kind of back here. So those muscles, because you are reaching back. I mean, that's really going to contract, um, kind of, not at exact sides of the hips, but a little bit back. So we're going to practice that pose again. And what we're really practicing is honing in on the height of the block. Like that's just so important to maintain the feeling of being quite relaxed in this pose. Okay. So I noticed too, like I just was practicing where I wasn't touching the wall and then I let my outer leg touch the wall a little bit. It was so different. So you start with that first side that my right leg, my right hip is towards the wall. Right hand on the block. Now I'm going to use a really high block here. Balance. I'm going to shift weight on my right leg and just reach back. So just take your time. Can you feel like there is something, some support touching your outer right leg? So like, oh, now I know I'm not going to fall down. And just lengthen, draw your navel in, just lengthening back through that leg that's lifting. And you open your top shoulder, you reach up, and then feel here the grounding, the pressing down. You might even play with like not touching the wall. And I know it's harder. It gets wobbly. Be really waking up the cells so they find the balance, opening to this. And then the light coming up, you just lift up. Mountain pose. So I hope, like when on your own, that there's just some little area you can practice this with that teeny bit of support. I mean, you can do this free form. Definitely just moving at your own pace. Other side. So left hand down, right hand on your hip. And just notice that transfer of weight onto left leg. Right leg back. Take your time. You might shift here. Scare your dog. And as you're reaching back, like everything stabilizes. Both legs are straightening. Spine lengthening. Gradually opening up here. Light heart, that quiet connection. Good, and then coming up, lift up. Mountain pose, right back. Back at your mat, you could go into, we'll just take 3 of those half sun salutes. Inhale up. You exhale, you go all the way over. Inhale, flat back. You exhale over. Inhaling up. Palms together in front of the heart. Just do 2 more of these. Really find your own rhythm. So we're going to move down onto all fours, okay? And on all fours, we're going to do two things where we're going to work the psoas muscle and then we're going to stretch the psoas muscle, okay? So one way to work that muscle is you're going to keep your knees close together and then just reach your right leg way back. So the area of the psoas muscle is right in front of your hip. So this is where it's a little more elongated. And then as you bend your knee and pull your knee forward, do not round your back. That's the action of contracting the psoas. And then you reach back and then you contract, you pull forward, and you're just doing that action. While breathing, and even your attitude, the mind has a very open quality. Feel every cell doing this. Good. And then pause, right knee comes down. So left side, leg goes back. Just feel how straight back, no flexion in your hip, and then flexion. Okay, and then just keep doing this. You can tell like this spine, chest, very stable, not doing cat and cow. Good. And then you pause. So there are many ways that we can then kind of stretch the psoas muscle. So one introduction of that is if you were to go onto your belly, okay? Because clearly there's no flexion in your hips here. And then you reach your legs back. And even if you lift up to a sphinx pose. Now, sphinx, as far as what's kind of stretching and opening, is more around like your stomach, your chest. But there's definitely no flexion in your hips. In fact, rather than hip flexion, if you contract your glute muscles and you really push your pubic bone down, that makes sure, like now, instead of the front body, you're using your back body contracting. Lift up, even lift your chin. Just right. Ground your pubic bone. So this is a good way for both legs to feel a little bit of extension, the opposite of flexion. Good. And as you release, you're just going to lift back up to all fours. Now, your right foot is going to step forward here. You just do this in your own way. Sometimes it takes some little steps to get your right foot up there. And then you move into your lunge. So this is where your pelvis drops. And, take a moment here, aware that the body is comfortable. Now, comfortable means that there's no pain, but there can be a lot of sensation. So, for example, now in front of that left hip, can be a lot of sensation. Partially because now your back leg, like your left knee, is a little bit bent. And that's going to also get into a stretch through your quad muscles and through your psoas. Taking right hand and right side, left hand, left side. And then if we move deeper into that psoas stretch, we actually lean over to the right and we reach the left arm up. So this is a more, again, a continuation of all of the muscles now lengthening and stretching and opening that left side. And you might feel this when you reach your arm up here, that stretch deepens around the front of the hip. And then as you take your hand back down, this is just this deep low lunge position. You just breathe here. Good. And then as we let this go, that right foot, like however you want to, steps back. So right knee is down. And the left leg. So as you could, just step the left foot kind of directly forward, or however it takes to like get that foot up there. And then notice even here in my pelvis, how I'm going to like drop into this. So being aware of that back right thigh dropping down. So breathing, feeling. Just right here. It's good to just stay here and breathe and imagine just the whole body opening to this. Now, that left hand is going to go over to the left. And you actually bring a little weight onto that hand as you reach your right arm up. Okay? And just get into that stretch, open through the front of the right hip. As you let go, hand comes down, staying here, breathing. Good. And then as you take your left foot back, we're going to lower the pelvis again. Now both legs back. Reach back. Taking your Sphinx pose, you lift up, ground your pubic bone. Lift up through your chest. Like even the top of your throat lifts up. Feel your ribs. And then possibly actually a good kind of final pose here is that bow pose. We're going to do this one more time. And because of that stretch we just did, like when you bend your knees here, you lift up, you reach back, you grab your feet. And briefly, you could draw your feet in towards your butt. Deep flexion of your knees. And then push your feet into your hands. Lift your thighs. Reach your chest forward. Feet lift up, thighs lift up. Good. And then as you release down, let go of your feet. Take your hands forward, stack your hands, and take your forehead on your hands. Good. So as you just lift back up here, your hands can just push you back up. And you're just going to come to a seated position, seated where you can just lean back a little bit here and just start to drop your legs side to side. This very loose, very fluid movement. So this little twist, we're going to transition onto the back side and just move into one final little twisting action. Okay, so as you recline, reach your arms out to the side. And then just lift your feet up, take your legs together, and you can just let the legs kind of rock side to side here. Doing this in a very easy way, but keep your shoulders grounded. Like really pressing down here. Throat is relaxed. And then just drop your legs to one side. And just breathe here. And then lifting your legs, you're just going to let your legs go up and over to the other side. Just letting the body breathe and open to this. As you bring everything back to center, taking your feet just on the floor here, just to find a little movement for deep in your belly and pelvis where we do the pelvic rocking. Your navel is going to pull down a little bit, and then you arch your lower back, and then you pull your navel down. You just do a little bit of that undulation through the lower back and the belly. Yeah, almost just like a little kind of soothing, rocking motion. Getting really sensitive how your lower back feels. So now, as you move to Shavasana, just let the body, maybe just let the legs just lengthen out here and just reposition the bones. Obviously the body isn't just flat. So you're going to feel just these little curves through the body. And then eventually we, come to stillness. And we actually practice Shavasana, which is um, more, kind of better described as a meditation practice. So please find a still pose. It's nice to take like a few deeper breaths. So we could play with that idea of, oh, all of these cells, and that we're aware. We can be aware of the whole body when we're reclining and appreciating just the awareness of these subtle areas like your throat and how you can position your head, arms, legs. So everything within can just, it feels open. So we play now with this idea of, I'm gonna bring my awareness to these different areas of the body that I typically overlook. Again, a good way of describing Shavasana is this really deep interest in sensing and feeling. And now the more physical work is done. But now the work is to stay here, bring awareness to your forehead. Bring awareness to the inside of your mouth, your lips. So it becomes very clear that you're visiting areas you typically aren't aware of, and you notice what happens. You have this intention of just opening and softening, your throat soft, and even that space of your chest. Bringing awareness to your belly. It's like you're looking like, where am I tensing or gripping? Where does my stress hide? And aware, like way down into your hips, lower back. This is sometimes a real breath by breath practice. If you could imagine an area like your lower back, and imagine that you could breathe into that space. So it's really great to imagine this, and it's just kind of that awareness in the lower back, and that certainty, like, yes, I'm right here. I'm in my body. I'm like feeling what it feels like to not be distracted. Now, as you let go of Shavasana and as you're coming back up to seated, if you're re entering the day, then we see as we take palms together that this would be a good idea to just stay aware. It's possible to keep part of our awareness in the body. And we really just live, we stay connected to all beings just through the body, this feeling being open rather than tight and separated. So even as we close with the sound of Om, this vibration is meant to really get us in tune with this vibration, this kind of connection. And we maintain that connection. So we'll take a deep inhale. Thank you so much for practicing together. Wishing you a wonderful rest of your day. May you keep the heart, keep your mind open. So I hope to see you back here again. And as a reminder, so today is Tuesday. This is our YouTube um, class through Common Ground. On Wednesdays, I have strictly in person. That's at noon at Common Ground. And then on Fridays, it's a hybrid. So Friday morning, 9:30 is in person and through Zoom at Common Ground. And this is just, you can find this on the calendar. Be well. See you next time.